Athletes, welcome back. To lift big weights, it takes humble beginnings, and we are starting you out with your deadlift basics today. So whether you're an experienced lifter or just getting into your barbell work, we're gonna give you the keys to success to lift safely and lift efficiently. So we're gonna take a step over to our bar. We got TJ joining us today, and we are gonna start simple here, and then we'll work our way up. We're gonna talk about foot placement first. Now, there is not one size fits all for your deadlift, for your squat, for any of your lifting, and we wanna talk about finding the place that works best for you. So stepping away from the bar, what TJ's gonna do is that he wants to get his feet relatively under his hips. And the reason is that if we think about a rocket ship, if the boosters are right below that rocket ship, we get the most amount of thrust possible. If they're out to the sides, they're angled out and we're gonna lose some power there. So what's gonna happen is that TJ has his feet placed underneath his hips. The second thing that we talk about, and I don't wanna get too detailed because I don't wanna lose you in the weeds on this one, but we have to talk about femur displacement. So the length of our leg is what's gonna dictate how we can get into position. So whether it's a squat or a deadlift, and to get that femur out of the way, we have a couple tricks that we can use. We can move our feet wider, we can turn our feet out, or we can start to talk about positioning of how far forward our knee goes or how far back our hip goes. All this to say, I want you to find a comfortable amount of turnout for your feet so that you can still maximize gripping into the floor and screwing into it with your feet, but not out so much that we're losing tension or getting ourselves into a position that doesn't feel strong. So TJ's gonna step up to the bar. When we address the bar, we think about cutting that foot in half with the barbell. So half his foot is in front of the bar and half his foot is behind the bar. From here, what he's gonna do is he's gonna go down to the bar. He's gonna place his hands right outside of those legs, and we're doing a double overhand right now. So we'll get into the different hand placement that we can use. But in this position, he's pulled his hips down into a position that allows him to load the legs, but he still feels loading in his hamstrings. He's engaged his lats so that this upper back is nice and tight, and then we're keeping our eyes on the horizon. I don't want you guys looking down. Go ahead and relax for just a second. I don't want you looking down because what that does is it tends to put your head forward, and if we drop that chin, our chin leads our chest. So if our chin is down slightly, then what happens is that that's gonna put us forward. Even the weight of our head is gonna shift us forward onto our toes. Now, you have heard the cue of keeping a neutral head position. We can still maintain a neutral head position here with keeping those eyes on the horizon. We do not want to see something where we crank our neck all the way back into that position, because then you can start to stress some things that shouldn't be stressed. So don't freak out if you got your head a little bit higher than you normally maintain, because you should feel stronger in this position. The next thing is that when TJ steps up to that bar, he gets himself set. We're thinking about gripping the floor with our feet and keeping those feet nice and active. What TJ is gonna do with our body to get ourselves ready to brace properly, and this is what I want you to practice at home right now. TJ's gonna take a nice deep breath in and a nice deep breath out. So when we do this, we're thinking about breathing deep. So we wanna breathe down into our waistband. The next thing that we wanna do is that to brace without a weight belt or even with a weight belt, we're gonna teach you right now how to do that. So what TJ's gonna do is he's gonna take a normal breath in, he's gonna breathe it all out, and he's gonna tighten this core up. With this core tight, he's gonna breathe into that tight core now. And now he has created that internal pressure that he can go down to the bar and he could deadlift. Go ahead and relax, breathe normal. Now, the second thing that I wanna talk about setup-wise in terms of what you're doing with your body is we wanna find a neutral hip position. So with our neutral hip position, what happens is that if TJ will lift his shirt up just to his waistband here, what we're gonna do is I want him to overextend. So he's gonna stick his butt way out. So look just like this, so arch it out like this, good. Now I want you to squeeze your glutes and get everything forward and rotate that pelvis forward. Go back to overextension and then go back to the other position. Now I want you to find halfway in between those two. This is a neutral hip position, and this is where we wanna try to lift from. Go ahead and relax for just a second. So when we go through this, we wanna think about the angle of which our spine is coming into our pelvis. A lot of times people will get into deadlifting or squatting, and they get into this overextended position, and then they end up tweaking their low back. We wanna think about keeping those glutes slightly turned on so that from here, now I can go into my deadlift position. Now, if you're an overthinker like I am, you're gonna say, I can't keep my glutes engaged while I'm going down. That's okay. We're just thinking about that neutral position as our starting point, and we're moving into the position because our back is gonna be at a nice safe spot when we start neutral, and then going into that loaded position is gonna set you up for success. So, I've given you a lot to think about right now, and I'm gonna simplify it. We found our correct foot positioning with enough turnout for ourselves, because you do not have to deadlift with straight feet. Build it based on your body. The next thing that we do is before we go down to the bar, TJ's gonna take a nice deep breath in. He's gonna breathe out, brace his core, breathe into that braced core, find neutral with his hips, go down to the bar. He's gonna screw those feet into the floor, lats are engaged, and he's gonna drive his feet through the floor to stand, and then he's gonna go back down. And again, and back down, and one more, and down. Now, when we're going into deadlifts, TJ does a great job at keeping good positioning when he's at the top. I'm not gonna have him do this under load, because this is something we want to avoid doing, but a full deadlift rep is counted when our knees and hips are extended and our shoulders are behind the bar. A lot of times people will get into a position where they overextend and they finish their lockout here, which is doing nothing except taxing your lower back more than it needs to. So when we're standing tall, we're thinking about having a string on the top of our head. Somebody pulls us straight up, they do not pull us back. The last thing that I'll talk about in the cue that you just heard me say is that I'm having TJ push his feet into the floor. We think about this when we're doing an Olympic lift, when we're deadlifting, when we're squatting. When we're deadlifting in particular, a lot of times people think about this as a pull. So what they do is they pull, their back instantly rounds out because they're not engaged there. If we reorient the way that we're thinking about this movement, and we just went to Planet Fitness and you got on the leg press machine, the floor is a giant leg press right now. So if my upper body's engaged and then I get myself nice and tight, I'm gonna press into the floor, and I'm going to use more leg drive rather than putting everything on my low back and pulling from the floor. TJ's gonna show us that one more time. He's gonna set up by breathing into that braced core, finding neutral with his hips. He pulls his hips down. He's gonna drive feet into the floor and stand. And here, before he goes down, he takes another nice deep breath in. He's gonna stand and breathe out. Always breathe at the top when you're nice and open, because not only does this help you stay in pacing with the movement, but we're bracing when we are the most open. If we go down into this position when we're closed up, trying to take a deep breath in here will not work. So at the top, we breathe in to that braced core again. It stabilizes our back and our core, and then we can go back into our next rep, and then we can deadlift for days. That covers everything for your deadlift. So we really, really hope that this helps. Make sure that you're keeping that upper body engaged, because that's another common fault that we have. So find your barbell, get some weights on there, make sure you have clips on your bar as well. And as always, be good, be kind, and join us again for another great day of fitness.